proposed revisions to the resolutions just to make it very clear what the intention was. The change recommendation B is simply as per our normal practice. Should there be any minor grammatical and/or te reo non-content related changes, those would occur should they be needed, and the chair and/or the deputy chair would just cite those before they're signed off. But in the future, given this is a technical document, the request is the new C, which is under delegation of the Chief Executive, should there be any changes needed moving forward in relation to changing context or technical changes, that they just be made by Sarah as a matter of course. So that explains the changes to the resolutions. Yep. It's a process change rather than a content change. So just a quick...
Right, Councillor Darby has a question of you, Sarah, or your team.
Thanks team. Now I haven't looked at all of the document which was attached separately, but I have homed in on a couple of sections. I just want to firstly, in your report, you say that you've gone and undertaken further consultation with the development community. Is it only the development community that's got an interest in this updated version, and how did you identify who the key stakeholders were other than just the development community? So where else did you go? I understand you might have gone to some practices that specialise in water, but what about groups, environmental groups that have expressed an interest in the space? Did you seek their input as you did the development community?
Through the chair, I did touch on some of this in my presentation. So,
are you going to do a presentation? Yeah. Well, let's have the presentation before questions.
Yeah, let's not rush through this. This is quite important.
Have you got the main copy that I had, Councillor Lee?
I beg your pardon?
You got my copy there?
I don't. Well, none was given to me, to be honest with you. Oh. I asked for it yesterday. I didn't even get an agenda, so...
Okay, the Secretary just said that my copy had gone around the table somewhere, so...
Whoever's in charge of distributing agendas, can you make sure I get them for meetings?
Okay, thank you. Okay, Sarah.
Thank you. I'm here today to talk to you about the Code of Practice for Land Development and Subdivision, which is a technical standard for Auckland Council. Because it's a technical standard, I'm going to introduce the team with the qualifications of the team so that you know that we're qualified to undertake technical standards. As the Chief Engineer, I've got a Bachelor of Civil Engineering degree with honours, an MBA in Engineering Management. I'm a Chartered Civil Engineer and I'm a Fellow of IPENS and the ICE. IPENS is the New Zealand Institute for Professional Engineers and the ICE is the UK Institute for the Professional Engineers. I'm also a member of the Institute of Directors, and part of my voluntary role outside work is to assess the capability of people wishing to aspire to be professional engineers. To my left is Branko Valianovsky. He's Council's Engineering Design Manager. Branko's team deliver technical guidance and technical standards for Council and industry use. Branko has a bachelor degree in Civil and Structural Engineering and a master's degree in Structures. He's a chartered engineer and an international professional engineer and a member of IPENS. He's on IPENS' Competency Assessment Board and he's a New Zealand Standards Committee member for various engineering standards. And to his left is Conrad Heinemann, who is Stormwater's Design Office Manager. He's got a Bachelor of Engineering, he's a chartered professional engineer and a qualified member of IPENS. Glad I put that out there. So I presented to some of you at the Finance, I've just put my phone on the floor, at the Finance and Performance Committee about Auckland Council's strategy for technical improvements, the engineering excellence in Auckland, which is in draft at the moment, and I'd be delighted to come and present it to you formally when it's complete. It covers a suite of improvement initiatives, from setting minimum standards for engineering council assets to improving our industry collaboration. The amalgamation of 7 legacy councils has meant that we've had 7 different sets of engineering standards in operation across Auckland. We've been working with Watercare and Auckland Transport, as well as across our own staff, to develop a single set of engineering standards for Auckland. To do this, we've used a base document, which is a New Zealand standard, NZS 4404, for development engineering. This has 8 standard chapters, and I'm delighted to be here presenting this afternoon on the Stormwater chapter. There are a number of objectives in setting minimum engineering standards. Firstly, it makes it easier for developers and our own engineers and resource consent managers to know what to do to get engineering approval consistently across Auckland. It also gives them a means of identifying really early in any development process whether or not the design that they're doing will conform to engineering standards. And we've done a lot of consultation with the development and engineering communities, encouraging council's pre-application process. We realise that in a city the size of Auckland there will be constraints, so we want developers to work with us on any changes so we can make the process easy and still satisfactory for Auckland from a technical perspective. We need minimum standards so that we can manage our assets safely and efficiently, and that means defining some detail of the quality standards that are acceptable. It's supported by a range of technical guidance documents. It isn't actually a technical design document itself, and we produce a suite of documents to go with it, including the water sensitive design document alluded to earlier. It's empowered by the Stormwater bylaw, which was approved by this committee a couple of months ago. So this is a sample of the sorts of things that are covered in the document. And our briefing note did include a copy of the document. I've got a black and white copy here. My next slide covers the development of the standard. Because of the 7 legacy standards in use, there's been a really strong focus on engagement with engineers mainly and the development community, both inside council and external. We've used a technical working group made up of stormwater and development engineering specialists and developed some engineering decision-making criteria which we'll now use on all of our engineering standards. This group and process have been used to review every decision in the document to give it technical robustness. As I said earlier, we've collaborated with Watercare and Auckland Transport to make this work well as part of the wider document. And we've got a technical collaboration group set up across the 3 entities to collaborate on a number of technical issues, and I'm really proud of what we're achieving in that space. We consulted on scope with Mana Whenua as we were developing the document to make sure that the document could enable their required outcomes. The feedback that we got from them, which is included in the briefing, was mainly around stormwater separation and quality treatment on land and discharge to land where possible. We developed a first draft of this document and held internal roadshows for feedback across council staff, Auckland Transport and Watercare, and issued version 1 to industry in October 2013. This was specifically issued a good while before being empowered by the bylaw to make sure that we could get feedback from anyone who wanted to give it. Later on in 2014, we held a number of workshops also to seek feedback. And to do that, we did email through the lists of all the developers and consultancies that we knew, but we also sent a general request out through IPENS, which would have gone to any members of IPENS, including the environmental people who are members of IPENS, to make sure that we got good feedback. and the turnout to consultations was certainly in the hundreds of people overall. As an engineering standard, this is focused on good practice and consistency without gold plating. We have a process to revise the standard, which we propose to do annually for the next few years, to cover consistency with the unitary plan requirements, because some aspects of the stormwater elements of the unitary plan are still in mediation at the moment. Any technical changes to good practice, feedback from industry, and any innovative approaches or materials sanctioned by council. And we also have a specific technical process for this sanctioning of innovative approaches or materials. We will continue to use the same decision-making process, which I believe has given us a good quality standard based on sound engineering outcomes and excellent collaboration across industry.
Thank you, Sarah. And team, questions? Councillor Darby.
Thanks, Sarah. You said that you sent it to IPENS, and any environmental groups that would be members of IPENS would have access to it. Which environmental groups and in which membership class of IPENS are they members? Do you know the names? Because I do know that,
confident that, through the chair, I do know that IPENS has the Sustainability Society. I'm a member of the Sustainability Society. So it's a cross collaboration, well, it's a cross technical aspects group, but IPENS has that as one of its technical groups. So there will be a lot of people who are part of that Sustainability Society who've been involved. I'm assuming that through the council, we'll have got people through things like the Institute of Planners. I believe we contacted the Institute of Planners directly, but I can find out for you and come back to you.
The New Zealand Institute of Landscape Architects?
Through the chair, the document that we have is, I suppose, mainly focused on buried infrastructure. We've been working with the Auckland Design Manual people internally to make sure that it covers our own architectural requirements where relevant, but I don't think there are many places where it would be.
So is this document more about hard piped infrastructure and less about landscape?
Yep.
Because if I did read through the appended document, or it wasn't with the agenda, but there was a reference to it, and it's a very lengthy document, but one is struck by the enormous volume of material about how to lay a culvert, a pipe, the specs on pipes, and there's a lot about pipe diameters, coarseness of pipes, and the list goes on. And then there is a section on water-sensitive design, but there's a reference to the fact that the code of practice overtakes the water-sensitive design documents that are referenced. And in fact, the water-sensitive design chapter is yet to be written in full. So I guess, Sarah, what I'm really angling for here is you've heard probably me and some others express concern about old-fashioned engineering. I'm not sort of laying that on the table again, but I guess I have been searching and others have been searching for this council to arrive in a space where we don't continue piping streams at the rate of 10 kilometres per annum. Without interrogating this whole report, I really am struggling to have the confidence right now that we're not that we are reversing that course, and that we are focusing on water-sensitive design. But I don't see that in here. especially in the absence of that particular section?
Through the chair, with